Jai Mohanji, and thank you for joining me. My name is Sjarn. I'm a Mohanji Acharya, and today I would like to speak about how I met Mohanji, how he came into my life, and how Mohanji has transformed me over the last 5 years that I have been with him on this path. So, how did I find out about Mohanji? It was quite interesting. I had a friend who was a Hanuman devotee, and by chance one day I was at the temple, the Muruga temple in Melrose, Johannesburg, and he was carrying kavadi, and I saw him, but I didn't realize that he was in trance and that he was actually carrying the energy of Hanuman. So when I experienced his energy and the energy of Hanuman coming through him, I was very taken by this experience. It was quite an emotional impact that this energy of Hanuman had on me. So I thought, let me just research a little bit and read up more on Hanuman, because Hanuman has always had a part in my life without me really knowing about him very much. He has always connected somewhere along the line when things have been really difficult for me. Hanuman has always been there for me. So I started Googling on the internet, and one of the very first posts that came up was a blog written on Mohanji, and he was reciting the Hanuman Chalisa. And this was in about 2010, 2011 that I read the blog. And it was the experience of how he did the recital. He did it in Sanskrit in one take. And while this chanting was happening, the Hanuman Murti in the room next door had started producing sindoor, and one of the children found the sindoor on the floor and called everybody to show that Hanuman was actually with them while Mohanji was chanting the Hanuman Chalisa. So I was very moved by this blog, and I realized I want to meet this man. And I knew that at some point in about 2011 that I would connect with Mohanji. I even wrote to Devi and I said to her, if I could get to Muscat or Oman where they were staying, I would love to meet them and come and join them on my way to India. And she said, yes, by all means, do come and join us. I never got to meet him in Muscat, but in 2013, he came to South Africa. And I realized, okay, this is my chance. And I went for satsang, and we did the meditation, power of purity, and there were all the devotees around. And at this stage of my life, I was very much going to temple. I was a Muruga devotee, and what was very important for me is my only question that I was really asking Muruga is, how do I find my path to Shiva? I want my path to Shiva. And for me, coming from a Western background in South Africa, I didn't fully understand the whole concept of how Hinduism works. And I was really just learning and finding my way through this. So when I met Mohanji in 2013, it was a wonderful experience. He did Shaktipat. It had a deep impact on me. But at that stage, I didn't feel that I really wanted to get involved or connect. People would ask me to come for the meditations, but somehow I never ended up there. And a few years passed by. I carried on going to temple and didn't really think much more about the experience, but I would keep on seeing pictures on Facebook about Mohanji. And then in 2015, there was a retreat, and Mohanji was coming back to South Africa. And I thought, I'm feeling really exhausted. I need some peace and quiet. Let me go on this retreat. And this really was the turning point. It was a very, very different experience, because on a retreat for 5 days, we got to sit in Mohanji's energy and we could experience him, and I could learn more about what Mohanji is about and his principles, what the foundation offers. And I must admit, during the retreat, I watched everybody and I kind of thought, no, do I really want to be involved with a group of people? It seems a bit like a cult. Is this really for me? And I had a bit of negativity in me, and my mind was like telling me, no, you can't do this. Just go to temple, just sit in that space and carry on the way you've been going. But then as the retreat progressed, certain things started happening. So there's a very interesting story of one of the people who attended. His name was Kishore, and at that time he had a very severe back injury. He had torn the ligaments and displaced the vertebra in his spine, and he was in incredible pain, and he was on crutches, and he could not sit down. And through the retreat, I was watching him, and day by day I could actually see the improvement in him. I would notice that the one day he only had one crutch. Then by the second day, he was actually able to sit down. And by the third day, he was coming in with no crutches. And he was telling me that he was able to move, he was able to turn, he could go into the shower properly, and the pain was releasing. And then by the fourth, fifth day, he could actually kneel on his knees and basically prostrate for Mohanji. And we realized, without Mohanji saying one word, that a miracle had taken place for Kishore. And this was an incredibly moving experience. And I went to speak to him and I said, "Do you realize what is happening for you?" And he acknowledged and he said, yes, he is actually healed. The injury, the pain, everything has been relieved for him. And that was an eye-opener for me, because the retreat, Mohanji is very unassuming. He doesn't talk very much about what he's doing or what's happening. And especially if you knew, like myself, I looked at this and I had no idea what was actually going on. So it really was something that I could physically see with my own eyes what was happening at this retreat with Mohanji and the impact that it was having on people. For myself, there was one incredible experience right at the very beginning of the retreat. Mohanji arrived at Calderwood. The retreat was hosted in the beautiful Midlands of Natal, and it was a lovely setting, forests, big rolling fields, a beautiful old house where we were staying. And at the entrance, everybody was waiting for Mohanji to arrive. And as he walked in, I came up the pathway and I saw everybody standing there at the doorway, and they were doing arti for Mohanji. And in front of him was this man. He had laid down flat on the floor. It was icy cold. It was winter. And Yuri was prostrating full length on the floor at Mohanji's feet. And in this moment, I was transported to another realm. I was looking at Hanuman and Ram. And I just went, oh my word, what is going on here? What am I seeing? It was just such an incredibly emotional, really pierced the heart kind of experience, because I went totally into that space where I was observing this incredible bhakti, this bhav, this love, this surrender coming from this man on the floor. And I was quite shaken up. And afterwards, I found out that this man on the floor was Yashik Singh, Dr. Yashik Singh, who is now known as Swami Mohana Bhaktananda Bharti. And this incident was very profound. And I realized there's a lot more going on here. I need to pay attention. So as the retreat went on, there was another very interesting experience. We had to do arti for Mohanji. And at this stage, I still was not certain about what was going on. So as I was doing arti and turning, and Mohanji was sitting there, and he was blessing everybody, and he was blessing me as I was doing the arti. But in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm going to put Shiva in front of Mohanji, and I'm going to do arti for Shiva. So I'm doing the arti and turning, and I'm looking at Shiva, and Mohanji is sitting there. And next thing, I literally see all my chakras exploding in light. It was like a Christmas tree blowing up inside of me. Like each chakra just went doof, 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 doof. And they each kind of blossomed into this beautiful neon bright colors. And I looked and I thought, what is going on here? It's like I'm aware of this energy. I can see it. And Mohanji's just sitting there and blessing. And we're doing arti and everybody's singing. And I'm seeing all my chakras exploding in this amazing, beautiful light. And I thought, wow, okay, very interesting. So that was another big experience on this retreat for me. Then at a certain point, we had, I think it was lunch, and Mohanji came up to me, patted me on my back, and he said to me, have I seen his light body form? And I looked at him and I thought,